In this video, I'm going to be talking about the iPhone 11 Pro, what I like about it, what I don't like about it, and how it's held up over the last 5 months. So let's get into it. Greetings Aqua fam, it is Ben Aqua. If you're not already subscribed, you know what to do. And also add me on Instagram at B3NAQUA. So let's talk about the iPhone 11 Pro and how has this phone held up over the last 5 months. Short answer, it's been amazing. And by the way, my version of this phone is the 256 Gigawiggle edition of the midnight green color. And let's just talk about physically first how this phone has held up. So it feels really similar to the iPhone 10. I actually bought the iPhone 11 first, and then I decided I wanted the extra telephoto lens, so I ended up getting the iPhone 11 Pro. I get a lot of questions about the iPhone 11 and if it feels like it's a premium device versus the iPhone 11 Pro, just because it doesn't have, the fancy display and all this stuff. Honestly, I think the iPhone 11 is an awesome device. It definitely feels very premium, so don't believe the hype when people are like, oh, it doesn't have the frosted back, so it's not a premium phone. I think the iPhone 11 is actually pretty much a awesome premium device, but the iPhone 11 Pro just has that extra pro feel. I can't really describe it. Like, this frosted glass has held up really well, and especially once I actually clean it a little bit, it looks almost brand new after 5 months. And I use my phone with no case for the most part, except when I'm like driving or I'm using a moment lens on there or something for photography. I don't even use a screen protector, and it's probably a little hard to see in this video, but after just keeping this thing in my pocket with no case, no screen protector, I have almost zero visible scratches, and the only thing that I really notice in terms of scratches, there are a few like hairline scratches on here. I'm not seeing them actually. You can see them a little bit. You can see that little scratch right there. After 5 months of use with no screen protector, no case for the most part, this phone has held up so well, and really the only scratches I see besides like the hairline kind of stuff on there are on the sides, but even after giving it a little like buff, I barely see any scratching. That's pretty incredible. So Apple has definitely said a lot about how the screen on the iPhone 11 Pro is like the craziest, most durable glass ever on a phone. I can attest to that. I mean, I don't know if it's the craziest and strongest glass ever on a phone that I've witnessed, but up until, late 2019, this is definitely the most durable phone I have ever put my greased little paws on. The display quality is also another thing that is really awesome, and that's another reason why I upgraded from the iPhone 11 to the iPhone 11 Pro. Let's go into the home screen a little bit here so you can see what the phone actually looks like. The display looks awesome. The colors look pretty accurate. Everything looks really sharp. I haven't noticed almost any degradation in the quality of the display or any screen burn-in or any ghosting issues. It's just been a really solid display. You can kind of see how sharp it looks and how deep the black in the background looks. And the iPhone 11 Pro does have the fanciest screen in terms of iPhones as of March. Damn, it's March already. March 2020. I do a lot of photo editing on my iPhone. I do some video editing on here as well. So the screen looks awesome. Colors look really vivid, especially when you have the brightness turned all the way up. And I have no complaints when it comes to the display quality. I can say that the True Tone, it does a pretty good job. Everything looks a little bit yellow for my taste overall, but you kind of get used to it and it's not a huge deal. I also had that issue with the iPhone 10, and the yellowness of the iPhone 10 was actually worse than the iPhone 11 Pro, so they seem to have improved the True Tone quality. And after 5 months, I can definitely say that the speed of the iPhone 11 Pro is just so fast. Everything just feels super instant, just opening up apps. I have no complaints. Like, even when I'm editing video or doing something a little more intense on my phone, everything just kind of blazes by and it's just super fast. Like, everything just kind of opens and it's ready to go. How much faster can these phones freaking get? I mean, every year they're like, it's 22.6% faster, and that's amazing. It's definitely a good problem to have. But this phone is so fast and the iOS experience is so nice with iOS 13. I'm really satisfied overall with how fast this phone is and just how well it still works overall. And one of my favorite parts and kind of least favorite parts of this phone, weirdly, is actually the camera. So let's go into the camera. This is the main reason why I upgraded from the iPhone 10 to the iPhone 11 Pro. The camera is awesome on here, and as you can see, there are several cameras on this device. We have a telephoto lens, we have a wide lens, and we have the ultra wide lens. The front-facing camera can do 4K 60p amazingly, and I've actually shot several vlogs using this phone. I've shot my last several videos for my YouTube using this phone, and honestly, for the most part, I kind of don't really feel like I need a bigger camera for a lot of things, especially with still photography. But there are certain moments where I'm like, I need a little more bokeh in the background when I'm doing a portrait shoot or something. So I'll use my Sony a6400 or a bigger camera for something like that. I love being able to zoom in using the telephoto lens here, and then you can zoom out all the way and get a nice wide shot, and even zoom in using this little thingy over here, and you zoom in, zoom out, and this camera is just amazing. So why did I say that this camera is also one of my least favorite parts of the iPhone 11 Pro? It has a really big flaw when you're shooting video especially, and it's so weird that not a lot of people have talked about this, but the smart HDR function on here works really well for photos. I think it really gets a lot of details going. However, this is my biggest criticism of this phone, and I don't think it's a deal breaker, but just hear me out here. So, and I've talked about this in a video before, I can link that in the description below. When you're using smart HDR in video, it does this weird ghosting effect when there's like a high contrast, sky versus a cloud. It'll do this thing where it'll just try to bring back some of the details from a dark sky area or a bright cloud. It'll bring it back, but it does it in real time. So the HDR thing is doing this kind of what I call like a flickering kind of effect. It does not look cute. I don't really like that at all. And honestly, it kind of ruins some of my shots when it comes to video. When I went to White Sands National Monument, I shot this like walkthrough video using the iPhone 11 Pro, and the whole shot looks kind of crappy in my opinion. It's really good when you're just standing still, but as soon as you're like moving the camera around a little bit, you start to see these weird HDR like ghosting and kind of popping and flickering of shadows, and it kind of ruined the entire video. But one thing I do love about the video on the iPhone 11 Pro, besides the actual just general quality, is the stabilization. You can be walking around and moving the phone around, and when you look at your video later, it's so buttery smooth, and I feel like I don't need a gimbal at all with this phone. I mean, if I wanted like completely smooth, I would definitely use a gimbal, but the stabilization on the iPhone 11 Pro and the iPhone 11 are amazing, and it's just so awesome to just take a phone around and not have to take a giant camera, a gimbal, and all this other equipment. So another thing that I love about the iPhone 11 Pro is the battery life. Battery life is noticeably better than the iPhone 10. So after using the iPhone 11 Pro for 5 months, I have a maximum capacity still at 100%. That's really amazing. The battery capacity has not gone down a single percent in 5 months, and I use my phone like all day, so I'm still at peak performance capability. So yeah, 100% maximum capacity battery after 5 months. I can see this phone lasting me another few years. I'm really curious about the new iPhones that are about to be announced in a few months here by Apple. And let me just say this about the iPhone 11 Pro. This really feels like the most refined iPhone I have ever used. I don't know if it's my favorite iPhone I've ever used. That might actually be my iPhone 6S Plus, a tie between that maybe and the iPhone 10, where it really felt like the iPhone 10 was like a huge revolutionary leap in technology. The iPhone 11 Pro is definitely a small leap in technology from the iPhone 10 and maybe the 10s, especially with the cameras and the battery life. It's just such a solid device, but I don't know if I would say that the iPhone 11 Pro is a huge leap above the iPhone 10s. Like if you already have an iPhone 10s or even an iPhone 10 and you don't really need the camera upgrade very much, I think you should just actually keep your old device and just keep using it till they announce something extra juicy, because overall, like the experience on the iPhone 11 Pro is familiar. It's definitely an iPhone running iOS, it feels really zippy. Nothing has slowed down on this thing, but there's nothing incredibly remarkable about this phone. I mean, sometimes the camera blows me away. I would say that may be, my favorite thing about this phone, when it's like, holy fiddlesticks, that photo looks amazing. I can't believe that was taken on a phone, or I can't believe that video was taken on a phone. However, when I'm using this versus my iPhone 10, it actually feels pretty similar in terms of speed, definitely a little bit faster, but it's not this crazy leap in speed that's like, oh my God, I need to spend $1,200 on a new phone just to get a faster phone. I think the biggest thing that I've noticed between the iPhone 11 Pro and the iPhone 10 is with the camera and the battery life, but the screens feel about the same in terms of the brightness and the colors and stuff. The iPhone 10 has a beautiful, beautiful screen. So overall, if you just show me the front of this phone versus the iPhone 10, they pretty much look like the same phone to me, and they even feel like the same phone in terms of like how fast everything feels. So if you're out there and you're like, oh, should I get the iPhone 11 Pro or should I get the iPhone 10? If you have a smaller budget, definitely just get the iPhone 10. You're not really going to notice a huge difference when it comes to the overall usability of the phone. You're going to notice the biggest difference though in the camera. So if you're taking a lot of photos, I think the iPhone 11 Pro is a modest and definitely a pretty drastic increase in quality from the iPhone 10. But if you don't really take that many photos, just get the iPhone 10. You're going to be totally satisfied, and it basically feels like the same phone in terms of speed and all that fun stuff. So yeah, this has been my experience and kind of just some general thoughts about the iPhone 11 Pro after 5 months. Let me know in the comments what you think and what phone you're currently using. Do you think the iPhone 11 Pro is worth the crazy price, or do you think it's just like an overhyped and overrated piece of virtual trash? Be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Whoa, almost dropped it.